All right, everyone, thanks for joining me for another edition of Thoughts for the Church. This is part 9. I do believe today's topic is a rather heavy one, a weighty one. It's the topic of abortion. How should the church view abortion? What should the church do in light of how God views human life? So Psalm 139, verses 13 and 14. For you have formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. If this were the only text speaking on the sanctity and the, how does God think of human life? How does He view it? This would almost be enough in and of itself, but thankfully it's not. We have a lot of examples of how God views human life, the value of human life, and the sanctity of it from the moment of conception to death and everything in between. And so, as the church, we ought to value human life, and we ought to be the front runners when it comes to pushing against the evil of abortion. I think a lot of Christians can kind of fall on this ambiguous line of, well, I think in general abortion is bad unless A, B, C, or D, rape, in cases of rape or incest or something of that nature, it's in danger to the mother's life. The reality is that we don't get to fall on one of those lines, the exceptions. And generally speaking, how often do we, when there's an exception to things, why does that become the rule? The amount of abortions that take place because of those supposed extenuating circumstances, very, very small percentage of abortions actually happen for that reason. And so generally abortions are happening. I think it's a complex thing. It's not just a simple thing, but bottom line is, as a follower of Christ, as the church, we should take the stance that abortion is wrong at every point. And from conception to birth, abortion is wrong. It's an evil in our world that exists that we should actively fight against. That's why here at our church we partner with our local pregnancy center, Align Life Ministries, and we'll continue to do so, supporting them and even serving with them and resourcing them to be able to help, because we as a church ourselves aren't necessarily equipped to handle all the complexities that come with someone who's considering abortion or teenage pregnancy, that sort of thing. And so that's why we partner with organizations who are, and we serve with them and come alongside them. That's what organizations like that are for. So bottom line, as a church, we value human life. Now, as far as when it comes to how do we treat someone who's considering an abortion or treating someone who has had an abortion, that's where we come in with the grace. That's where we come in with the cross. Yes, it was wrong. Yes, it is wrong. But condemnation is not the answer. Coming down sternly and condemning someone because of their choices they're considering or the choices they have made in this regard. We need to understand that there's just as much grace for these people as for anyone else. This is not an unforgivable sin. This is not an unpardonable sin. And so we enter into life with these people and we come alongside and say, hey, I get this is really, really hard, but come to us. We'll help you. We'll help finance if your church is able to help finance some things and provide for them financially, or you'll connect them with a ministry like Align Life Ministries or adoption centers and agencies. But the bottom line is we come alongside with compassion, because that's what Christ did. Christ didn't come the first time to condemn. He came with compassion. He came to seek and to save the lost. And the cross itself shows how much God values human life, right? Because He wasn't willing that any should perish. God wants people to come to Him. He wants people to know His grace and His forgiveness. And so absolutely abortion is wrong and sinful at every point. But the way that we treat people who are working in those fields considering abortions or have had abortions, we come alongside with grace, compassion, and showing them that as the cross has set us free and given us life, it can do the same for them.